My name is Carlo Seddaui. I've been working in IT security for 30 years now, and in all kinds of roles, doing all kinds of stuff. And today, I was asked to take you on a little tour on what secure coding is and how secure coding is being organized in organizations. I've seen secure coding being organized in various ways in various organizations as a freelancer, and I would like to share some of my experience with you. If we go to the following slide, let's first take a look at what insecure coding does to organizations, to customers, to shareholders. A lot of the security incidents that we see bring about tremendous risk and has large financial consequences. One of the things that we see, for example, is ransomware injection. With injection, I mean that you have a portal, you have a website, it's hacked, and cyber criminals put ransomware on your website, infecting your customers. The reputational damage is huge. Liabilities could be there. Not a situation you would like to be in. Another point that we see is that a lot of the data leaks that we see happening are also due to all kinds of vulnerabilities. Many times those vulnerabilities come from insecure code, insecure configurations. And when you look at the whole process, how certain portals or certain websites are being created, backend systems are being created, one of the main issues there is that a lot of people who are programming are not really up to date or miss essential knowledge with regards to certain vulnerabilities. Blowing your organization basically wide open to cyber criminals. Now, to go into the business benefits, we want to prevent these expensive security incidents, and we want to prevent ransomware infections, not only for our customers but also for our own organization. The extortion sums being demanded go into the millions, and not something you want to bring to your shareholder as, hey, we had a little problem. Now we have to pay a couple of million to get our data back. And the same goes for data leaks. Also there we see GDPR fines. We see cyber criminals also doing all kinds of extortions. Not something that organizations are really happy with. Now, in the area of compliance, we slowly see that various compliance frameworks are looking also at the way, not only how we are executing our processes and how we are securing our environment, but we are also slowly seeing that certain frameworks are looking also at the way we produce our software, the way we produce our environments. And so we can talk about code that we are writing for our applications, but increasingly we're also looking, for example, at infrastructure as code. So there's all kinds of, let's say, attack vectors there that can make it really, really dangerous when people don't have the right security knowledge while producing this code. Now, if we take a look at the maintenance of software in general, if we are going to write code and we find out that we have solved the problem in our code in 20 different places, in 20 different manners, it becomes unpredictable how this code will behave. And then fixing that code, also called refactoring, becomes an expensive process. So what we actually want to do is we want to create also with the knowledge, we want to create some code level security capabilities. Because having knowledge is one thing, but creating, for example, reusable input validation code with decent libraries will actually benefit our developers by not having to implement all kinds of security controls, but understanding the situation, using the right libraries, and using proven technology. And field-proven secure code snippets can go a long way in preventing implementations from OAuth, SAML, you name it, all kinds of, let's say, security-sensitive parts in applications that go wrong. Now, if we take a look at many organizations, when I create a security architecture, I create, let's say, an overview of the whole situation. And one of the capabilities in a high-level security architecture is, for example, secure software development lifecycle. So, if you take a look at the complete environment, you will see things like reference architecture. We have policies and standards. We might be doing some threat modeling. We have style guides. We have coding guidelines. At some point, it's nice to have this written by experts, but we also need our developers to truly understand these requirements and to truly be able to apply such requirements onto the code. And to use things like processes like secure code reviews requires knowledge. And this is why it's so important to not only help your internal and external developers achieve a certain level of security awareness and security knowledge with regards to secure coding, because for all these processes to properly function, you need people who really understand the content that we are handling. Because the content of, let's say, cross-site scripting, SQL injection, all that kind of stuff, people have heard what it is, but knowing the concept and knowing how to write proper code that will prevent such vulnerabilities from occurring means that you need to put knowledge in the heads of people. Because a fool with a tool is still a fool. We need to put knowledge into the people. And knowledge is power. Thank you. Michel, I'm done.
Thank you very much, Carlo. I'm looking quickly at the audience if there's been questions, and if not, I suggest we continue with our next speaker, Kurt Risley. So let me give Kurt the floor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Would you like me to go on video? I didn't even think about doing that. Hold on, show my screen. Okay, what screen are you guys seeing right now?
Yeah, we can see your desktop now.
Are you able to see, okay, the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, let me go on video here. Hopefully,
yeah, perhaps you can set your PowerPoint in presentation mode. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I've got dual monitors. I'm just trying to see which one. So you guys have the presentation mode, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. A quick introduction. My name is Kurt. Yeah.
Now we've got your other screen. Yeah, it's
Display settings. Yep.
We good? You seeing the right one?
now we see the outline. Let's see if we can switch to the other one. Yeah,
yep.
That's the other one.
Okay, I'll leave it there. If you guys see something different on there, let me know.
We do now.
You're seeing what?
Yeah, we're seeing your outline again. I'm not sure how this thing.
Yeah, let me. I'm going to do this. How about now?
Now it's good.
Now it's good.
Okay. Sorry for that little challenge there. I'll go ahead and start. If you guys are seeing something different, feel free to interrupt. Welcome everybody. As I mentioned, my name is Kurt Risley. I do work for Checkmarx. My role is I oversee a solution that we have called CodeBashing. It helps developers code more securely to stay gamified, fun, interactive, Appsec awareness platform with a lot of good training solutions. I've been with Checkmarx for a few years. I've been in this space for quite some time. My focus around code bashing is from product development to helping customers effectively onboard this, kind of like what Carlo is talking about, best practices, trying to reduce risk in organizations and so forth. So I'm going to spend a little time talking to you about why training could be a little bit more fun, show you actually an example of what a lesson looks like, and then just keep it very high level and talk about what is an AppSec awareness program. Maybe that's something in the audience, somebody on here may have an interest, or maybe it's just about training. So I'll keep it light. I certainly encourage anybody to write in and ask some comments. As you see here, you know, why can't training be fun? I think all of us know that when somebody says you're required to do X training or go do this training, typically the eyes roll. And it's typically video based. What I'm going to show you is something a little different, where they're very short, concise, and to the point, and not video based. So you actually interact with the lesson itself. And as I mentioned, I'll talk about Appsec program and how actually both of those can work together. You know, and some of the assumptions here is that you guys probably want to see something a little bit different than what you normally see. I would hope that everybody would like to find ways to improve or to do better, which can help reduce risk. Carlo made a lot of comments on that. You know, let's shift left and be more proactive about this from a developer, and let's make it fun. So I'm going to be talking about code bashing. I'm going to keep it high level, but what is it? Really, in a nutshell, it's a game-like, hands-on, interactive, fun training solution here, and I'll show that to you and it's also very gamified. These are real vulnerable apps that we have vetted through our research and development team. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of moving parts here. Would love to get some feedback as I go through it. Really, the reason to bring this slide up for you is I want to give you a visual when I talk about code bashing, because it's a multifaceted solution. It's used as a just-in-time. I'm a developer. I'm looking at I'm in my IDE, and maybe I'm even looking at vulnerabilities and a SQL injection within my code. I have the ability to just transition over and take a very short, concise lesson on SQL injection in my language for that specific vulnerability. I retain that. I could go back to my IDE, remediate that, make the changes, and move forward. I also am going to talk a little bit about code bashing being a platform, an Appsec awareness platform. So I really just wanted to give you a visual that there's a lot of things you can do. Obviously, our core competency is training or education. So let's do this. Let us transition. Michelle, are you able to see my code bashing screen?
We see your presentation now.
Let me just do this then.
Yeah, here we are. That's good.
Still good?
Yeah, we see your browser now.
Okay. With Java there?
Well, you just transitioned to search results.
No, Kurt, we see your Salesforce. Please close all the other windows.
Okay. Bear with me here. Let me just move this over here. This is what I want you guys to be able to see.
Kurt, we see something entirely different. Please close it down.
Yeah, there's a slight delay there, but yeah, we see your code bashing now.
Okay, you see the Java?
Yep.
Okay. What I wanted to show you here is just go through a really quick lesson. These are typically 5 to 8 minutes. I'm going to do it in about 2 minutes. This is an entire catalog that you would have at your fingertips to go through. I'm actually going to focus on Java. You'll see this is a Java course with 23 different lessons. I'm going to go right into SQL injection and just kind of give you a look and feel for what this lesson is all about. So we like to do more of a role playing. So we have Alice, our hero, Bob, the bad guy. And you'll see that over here, I have a number of steps that I would go through. I have a front end here. And what we have seen is a lot of our developers love to see the back end and what's going on. So as I said, this is very interactive. I'm going to set the stage here. You know, Alice wants to log in here and she does not remember her password. So she logs in, but you can see the statements that are being passed down below. It seems that Alice does not remember her password, so they ask me to. So I'm basically walking the developer through here. It looks like something broke here, and I won't go into details. I'll give you guys an opportunity to look at this on your own. But as you can see, I'm already halfway through this lesson. Now we want to kind of understand how that error occurred. And what we're doing is we're walking you through step by step here. As I said, I'm going through it rather quickly. And then we also like to really focus on commenting everything out, focusing on the line that we believe is vulnerable, talking about it, giving you ideas, and then also walking through this in a little bit more detail. I'm essentially putting in single quotes. I just want to point this out here. Really, this is talking about injecting characters. So if any of you are aware of SQL, if I'm basically putting in a true statement here, and you will see by doing that, what happens is it shows that I'm actually able to bypass that authentication and get into Alice's trade portal. And we talk about it more. You can see down here kind of what's going on. And then what we want to do here is kind of walk through this in more detail. As I said, I'm going through this very quickly. We'll give you an opportunity to look at this. But at the very end, so we kind of set a stage, we walk through it. And the last thing, obviously, is to provide some guidance or some remediation, or our best practice recommendation would be prepared statements. And what we do is then we actually go in here and we provide those specific lines that we recommend would help avoid, you know, bypassing that authentication. So prepared statements are what our recommendation is. So as a developer, I'm going through this. It's very quick. You saw me go through it within just a less than probably a minute, minute and a half. And then what we do here is after I'm done with it, they're saying, does this make sense? Do you understand? Yes. I'll also be asked to answer a question here. And the thing that I want to point out here is we also, within this CodeBashing solution, try to make this fun. So how about a little friendly competition with your peers, have a leaderboard, maybe give away some little prizes or something like that. But that, in a nutshell, is what a lesson looks like within CodeBashing. And as Carlo was talking about, wouldn't it make sense to address this at the beginning and help the developer understand how to code more securely versus identifying vulnerabilities? The cost of a vulnerability, obviously, from a breach all the way down to the developer, gets exponentially more expensive. Michelle, are you seeing my slide deck?
Yeah, I see your PowerPoint presentation in PowerPoint now. So we're not seeing the presentation mode, if you will.
Yeah, hold on. How about now? Should be right. Okay.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a delay. I think we see your outline now.
Outline. Okay. It should be in.
You need to go to your other screen again.
It should be in. How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. For all of you on the phone, I always like to bring this up. It's more of a question for you. Within your organization or where you are, if you have a formal AppSec awareness program in place for your developers, I would be curious. If you don't, that's something that I spend a lot of time helping customers understand how to build that, how to manage it from a cultural aspect. So I just at a high level want to give you guys an idea, as we talked about. I'm curious if these are some of the questions that you ask when it comes to educating your developers or giving them training. From an AppSec program perspective, these are the questions that we typically see. You know, how can we provide training for developers on a basis? How can we make this fun? How can I see that it's actually adding value for the developers? Obviously, it's interactive and fun. But the message, if there's anything to take away from today, is I've been talking about code bashing. Code bashing is not just a bunch of content. It essentially is an AppSec awareness platform. What does that mean for you? Why would you care? What we're seeing is a lot of people, although there's great content, it would be nice if I had the ability to communicate to my developers, maybe a quarterly newsletter, maybe just to communicate a conversation we had in our last meeting. How about engaging in more of a fun challenge or a tournament or a capture the flag approach? Obviously, training is something that we've always done very well. And then I'd be curious to get some input if there are any questions around assessments. It's a capability, and I'll just highlight that real quick. I wanted to also show you some of the other content that we have available in our code bashing solution. And this would be for more of the advanced developers, or maybe I went through the entire Java course and now I want to challenge myself more. What the advanced courses are providing you is the ability to actually look at real code, compilable code, and we're going to set up a narrative and probably a couple, 2 or 3 examples where you actually have to go through and identify the lines that you believe are vulnerable. And we're telling you that there's 4 of them, 2 of them were selected. If you answer, you have 3 tries to go through that. I just wanted to give you a little bit of flavor of that, and that's something that you can look at in the product later. And then kind of wrapping up here, I wanted to show you something that a lot of our customers really like, and it's the ability to send out an assessment to your development organization. Wouldn't it be nice if I could actually get a baseline of where in our organization we have, where our strengths are and where the areas that we need improvement are? So now I can actually maybe tailor my training to focus on those different types of vulnerabilities, OWASP top 10, SANS 25. A lot of people also like to use the assessments and have the ability to test out and prove maybe from a compliance or to auditors that they're skilled enough and that they've scored high enough to not have to take the training. Really, when I talk about an AppSec awareness program and getting a baseline, going through the training, having fun interactive tournaments, and friendly competition, wouldn't it be nice if I could then send another assessment out and demonstrate that I'm showing the value? And there has been considerable improvement in providing this training to the developers. Also, here's tournaments here. Just wanted to show you that's a live event that is going to be coming out here shortly within the solution. And I will turn it back over to Michelle. I just wanted to let everybody know, or I'll let Michelle talk about this.
Thank you very much, Kurt. Yeah, we'll take back the presentation. Okay. And I think you see my wrap-up slide now. So we've listened to Carlo and to Kurt discuss why we need secure software development, secure coding skills, that we can try and improve them, that it doesn't have to be boring, it can be fun, that while having guidelines and documentation is good, it's much better to have a platform, and gamification will really help make it appealing for developers. And we found Checkmarx, they've been so kind in this time to offer a 45-day free trial. And in the follow-up email after this session, we will definitely send you the details of how you can apply for that if you want to. And if you want to take over this link, you will be able to look that up. And now I would like to ask everyone if they have questions. What I'm going to do, because we want to make this a little fun, online, I'm going to open or invite everyone to open their microphone, and you can speak in if you want. So we can have the questions orally. If you can't be on microphone now, feel free to put your questions either in the question box or in the chat. So I want to thank everyone for their attention so far, and really invite everyone to shoot their questions at our speakers. And I'm going to try and open the microphones now. And I will welcome everyone to to send us their questions. I think each individual will have to click their unmute button to be able to speak, but please do so if you have a question. All right, I've got one question here. What secure code analysis tools would you recommend? Carlo or Kurt, who would like to take that question?
Go ahead,
Well,
Carlo.
let's first say that from an architectural point of view, I would not start with the tool. I would first start with assessing your own situation. So how many internal developers do you have? How many external developers do you have? Are you coding in Java, in C#? Are you using Docker, Jenkins, Kubernetes? Do you have a DevOps process going on? Do you have to support Azure, AWS? I would first case the environment, and then based on that, I would start thinking about what type of environments you need to support, what programming languages you need to support, and what the organizational setting would be that this solution has to land in. And then based on that, I would slowly move towards comparing the various different types of vendors, and maybe also have a look at different models of doing this, because you can do everything yourself. You can also outsource some of the work. So there's quite a few options, and how you organize stuff is really dependent on the situation that you are in. But it all starts, of course, with awareness. It starts with awareness with your stakeholders, that they understand what type of value this brings. So I would concentrate first on writing out the business case, making people understand that what type of problems we're trying to solve, what type of cost savings we're trying to achieve, and then I would slowly move towards selecting, let's say, the right requirements, the right criteria to be able to select a proper tool.
Thank you, Carlo. I got another question from Jiska about that I think is a good one for Kurt. How much time does it take to complete the training?
It's an excellent. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. As I mentioned, really, our focus is to have each of these lessons are no more than 5 to 8 minutes. Depending on the course, we have a plethora of content. On average, there are 23 lessons in the Java or .NET or any of those. So if you do the math, you're looking at, if I went through it all at once, I could get it done in less than 2.5, 3 hours.
All right, that's quite good. I have another question. I think that's also about the CodeBashing tool. Are these services compatible with Swift and Firebase?
When you say compatible, we do talk about those Swift, the languages. So to take a step back, the CodeBashing or the content there is primarily going to be developer code-based type content. So I'm not sure if I'm answering that very well from a compatibility perspective. It's just a hosted, use a browser to access all the content. And if you're asking about that language or that, maybe I get a little clarification.
Yeah, let's
Otherwise,
see if
I'd be happy to follow up.
Yeah, we can follow that up later on offline as well. But I think maybe a related question is, how much does the does the content go into frameworks, or does it go into let's say libraries that are used a lot? How much does do the lessons also focus on vulnerabilities that you might find in using those libraries improperly?
It's a good question. I would say it's very comprehensive. We're talking, we have 12 languages that we support. We focus on HTTP security basics, front-end basics, back-end basics. We continue to add more and more content. So it's going to be, framework-based. A good example, if I'm answering the question, we have a catalog in there that's more of a reference library that shows developers sample code that is vulnerable and what it looks like when it's remediated. So there's all different types of content. I'm not sure, did I answer the question correctly or well enough?
Yeah, I think thank you very much. It's clear that it has good coverage of all kinds of use cases, and so that it really that the examples are familiar for the developers, and that there's a good chance that they will find something that is that looks a lot like what they're doing.
Yes.
All right, let's see if there's more questions. If I poke the audience a little bit, and otherwise we're just gonna hold out for a few minutes and see if there's going to be any feedback. And well, we've completed the presentations quite early, so I'm wondering if there's some time for internal discussion, and if we don't have any questions and we think that we've presented everything we wanted to show, then we can close the session.
I have one more remark.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. If you take a look at frameworks, let's say from a Mitre perspective, for example, what you would normally do is you would assess your environment. You would determine the most, let's say, important attack vectors. Take a look at the TTPs, the tactics, techniques, procedures being used by attackers, and then have a look, let's say, from that actor perspective, on what are the techniques that are most likely to be used against your organization, against your components, and then based on that, you can start selecting in the training what are the most valuable types of lessons with priority that you want your developers to do, because the issue is not doing all the, how shall I put it, the issue is not having people train in 500 different attack vectors, because then they would be training for let's say 50 days. But let's start with the type of attacks that you see most. So take a look at the logging from your web application firewalls. Take a look at the logging from your SIEM. Take a look at the vulnerabilities that were discovered in the past during penetration tests, so that you have some awareness of your environment, some awareness of the type of attacks that are specifically directed at your organization, and make sure that when you do the training, when you organize the training, that you take into account at least the attacks that you have seen mostly being fired off against your organization, and then slowly you can build out. Because the thing is, as defenders, we cannot we don't have 20,000 fingers to stick in the dike, the Dutch saying. So we need to pick our fights. And by investing in those type of attacks, those type of attack techniques that we see often used against our organization, that's where we can get the highest return on investment. And then slowly from there, you can build out. So that's what we let's say an approach that I've seen being used so far, that we try to identify the most vulnerable parts of our organization, that we try to identify the most serious type of attacks we have seen so far, and then using that intelligence, that we focus our efforts on the things that we can actually prove from the logging that those type of attacks are occurring, and that we have made mistakes in the past with those type of attack vectors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, thank you very much for that closing comment. I think we're coming to the end of this this session. I want to offer great thanks to Kurt Risley of Checkmarks and to Carlo Seddaui. And I would like to thank the audience for their attention. And I hope they will follow us on Appsec NL for our next upcoming online meetups, and hopefully very soon a face-to-face meetup. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you, you as well.